Good morning, guys. I thought I would take this opportunity to talk to you about a rig that I'm sure loads of you have already been using, but I've only just started experimenting with. And what it is a, it's like a multi-solid bag rig. Why is it taking me a long time to get on these? Well, I'm a creature of habit, but it's so handy when you use hand sharpened hooks, as I do from J Precision, to be able to change the hook. Now, I've been using this almost exclusively this year, and there's a reason why I wanted to talk to you and show you how I do it. Well, a couple of reasons. One is to plug in Duro, and the reason I'm plugging in Duro is because for this particular rig is because of how, clues in the name, how durable it is. So I can change that hook with this rig so many times, it's almost criminal, so it keeps going and going and going and going, which is exactly what you want for any kind of multi-rig. Also, I'm going to show you how I load it up with the tungsten, in what order I do things, so that you don't waste any material at all. Okay, so it's the most cost-effective way of making a very cost-effective rig. All right, so the first thing you want to do, I actually would suggest you make these in threes. If you're going to go to all the trouble to get all your kit out to make a rig that you know is going to be the same size every time, which is about 4.5 inches, 4 inches, then you may as well make three. And the second reason is, when you're using tungsten kickers, these are from J Precision. I will link everything in the comments. It's a good idea to put three on at once, because the minute you put one on, the stem is closed up that these are housed on, and it's a nightmare to get any more off the wire stem. So I'll put three on at once, then that's done then, yeah. And don't worry, these can sit on there forever. They won't open out to the point where they're unusable. If I only wanted to make one rig, I could leave those on there for a later date. Okay, so on to the rig. The first thing you're going to want to do, actually, is to put on your tungsten sinker. So that's going on first, and this is all leading into how and I've just thought I'm going to take this one apart, because I haven't got a tungsten kicker. This is all leading on to how you're not going to waste any of this stuff. All right, so please note that this is staying on the spool. I've not cut anything off the spool, and I won't do right until the end. All right, so on with the sinker first and foremost. Let's get that out of the way. Then on with the kicker, like so. Glad that went on easy, because that could have been a mare. And then the next thing we're going to do is tie our loop that is going to house the hook. This wants to be, so it's a figure of 8 loop, so I've just doubled a section of it over. What's that? A couple of inches, doubled it over, do the old figure of 8, on we go. And this wants to be about 1 inch, okay, to 1.25 inches. If this is about 1 inch long, then the knot will sit just inside the kicker when we finish, and if it's about 1.25 inches, it will sit just outside it. Either is fine. So let's just tighten that down. What we got there? We've got a bang on 1.25 inches. Okay, if you can hear a dog barking in the background, please ignore it. So on we go, tighten him up like so, and then I'm going to trim the tag end off, and then onto our hooks. Now, for me, hand sharpened J Precision hooks, I never use a hook smaller than a 4. That's just me, and often I use a 3. So that's being doubled up and put on. Where we've doubled our loop up, made our loops on, that's just being poked through the eye of the hook, like so. Then the bait screw is going on. Now, this is probably the first time anybody's seen me make a rig with a bait screw, which I'm going to use in my home fishing. I'll come on to why I use bait screws in a moment, but it isn't for convenience. Okay, so let's pop him on. Then I'm going to slide my kicker up, like so. There we go. See that knot there is just outside of the kicker. So perfect. If it was 1 inch, it would be just inside the kicker. Okay, so it's just about neatness. It wouldn't really matter if it was back here, but it's just about neatness. So now I'm going to slide my tungsten sinker down a little bit. When I finish, this wants to be about mid-rig. And again, notice I've not taken anything off the spool. So there's no guesswork involved in how much you need to cut off, which, you know, to start your rig, which means you're not going to waste any, you know, you're going to waste minimal, if any, material. Next up, the figure of 8 loop, and I'm going to come on to the bait screw in a sec. So if we make this, let's make this 4 inches. So I'm going to pinch at 4¼ inches. By the time I've done the knot, that will be about 4 inches. I'm going to slide this sinker back a little bit to make my life easier, just to tie this loop. Like so. And another thing that I do slightly differently these days is I make my loops nice and big, round about 1 inch or just over, probably about the same size as the loop at the other end actually, so that I can easily loop to loop that onto a lead. And I'm just going to tighten this up. When you tighten it up, don't use the hook to pull against, because obviously that's just going to pull this back. What we need to do is use the D, like so, right, to tighten up the knots. Okay, so now I'm going to cut this off, and as I said, this is still attached, so I've wasted absolutely nothing except what I need exactly for my rig, all right, which I think is a beautiful thing. I really do, because none of this stuff is cheap. Right, okay, slide my sinker back into the middle, and there is our finished rig. Now, going on to our user bait screw. So, you know, I'm a big fan of wafters, or, you know, particularly pillows, the Elevate pillows, and with a, this is a 10mm one, there's 10 and 12s in there, with a 10mm pillow, which I like personally, and a size 4 hook, without a bait screw, if I was to use a micro swivel, they don't waft like crazy, but they've got a lot less weight than they have with a bait screw. So I don't think it hurts you one bit, right, to have some weight in that when you're fishing in a solid bag, particularly in water that is sort of 6 foot or shallower. So there's not a lot of water pressure. The last thing I want is this wafting around absolutely everywhere, and that bait screw is giving me the extra weight over a micro swivel. So it's actually got nothing, it's a bonus that it's convenient, yeah, but it has actually got nothing to do with making that convenient. It's to make what I think a better presentation with a bait screw. Last thing to mention about this rig, which I think is also a bonus, when I get a fish, this happens. That is locked at the back of the hook whilst I'm playing the fish. It's in my head, I might be wrong, but I believe that if I was playing a fish and he was blowing and sucking and this was going all over the place, I think that can potentially weaken the hook hold. In fact, I'm 99.9% sure that it can do. So on the take, that's locked back. And not only that, if you get an aborted take, you know, because that's been pulled and it's locked at the back of the hook when you retrieve in. So that's the rig I've been using. I've had fish over 40 pounds on this rig this year, and everything in between, you know, including 30 pound fish, 20 pound fish, you name it. Really, really good hooker, convenient, and will save you, you know, loads of hassle, especially if you're using hand sharpened hooks. And this stuff keeps going and going and going. One rig will last you a very, very long time. I absolutely promise you. So there you go, guys. Really hope that helps.